Church of East Africa at his official residence in Karen, Nairobi. The DP challenged religious leaders to take the mantle in encouraging Kenyans to take the jab, warning against negative propaganda being spread about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Kuna mambo madogo madogo hapo, propaganda hapo katikati. Wananchi wanaambiwa pengine chanjo iko na hii, pengine iko ile. Mimi nataka niwaambie, tuombe kila Mkenya wajitokeze, Wakenya wote katika kila sehemu ya Kenya wajitokeze ili tupate vaccination.
And as Kenyans continue to take a beating from the economic downturn occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, the DP emphasized that the only safe way to reopen the economy is if the country manages to attain a herd immunity.
Vaccination ndio njia itakayotusaidia tuweze kupunguza wale watu tunawapoteza, na pia itatusaidia kuhakikisha kwamba uchumi wetu inafunguliwa na tunarudi katika makazi zetu, ndio tuweze kupeleka taifa letu mbele.
The meeting with the religious leaders is part of a series of meetings the DP has had with regional delegations as it crafts its 2022 political strategy.
Equity Bank Managing Director Gerald Waroy says the bank has never had any banking relationship with deported Turkish national Harun Aydin. Waroy on Wednesday told the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning that the bank has never advanced any credit facility to Aydin. Now, the inquiry follows claims that Deputy President William Ruto he helped the investors secure 15 billion shillings loan from Equity Bank for the construction of a pharmaceutical company in Uganda.
Equity Bank has sought to clear its name over claims that it extended credit to Turkish businessman Harun Aydin. While appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Finance and Planning on Wednesday, Equity Bank Managing Director Gerald Waroy said he is unaware of any transaction between the bank and the deported Turkish national.
Their relationship between Equity Bank, Kenya Limited, and the Day Group. Is there any facility that has been advanced to this particular group? Is it to the effect of 15 billion that we were told about on that particular phone call? Is it true that these accounts of this particular company were frozen by the Financial Intelligence Authority of Uganda? Of course, on suspicion of money laundering. So I just wanted to make that question to you and
not lend such an amount of money to Ugandan subsidiary. I think that's what I wanted to mention. And again, the name, the Turkish person, he has no and he has never had an account in Kenya, in our Equity Bank Kenya.
Mr. Aydin was a stranger to us, like as he was to everyone else. So we had nothing to say about him because we do not know him.
The inquiry by Parliament follows claim by Deputy President William Ruto on August 4th that he had helped Aydin secure a 15 billion shilling loan from Equity Bank.
Yule mwegezaji wa pale wa hiyo kiwanda alikuja kwa ofisi hii mahali wewe umeketi. Karibu miaka 2 iliyopita. Akaniuliza, tafadhali natafuta vile naweza kupatana na Equity Bank. Kwa sababu nataka wanisaidie kufanya ile coordination ya vile nitapata pesa ya kuegeza. Mimi nikachukua simu, nikapigia simu Equity Bank, nikawaambia kuna mmoja wetu wa kutoka East Africa aliye hapa. Mko na branch Uganda. Msaidieni huyu mtu kama anaweza kufanya hiyo biashara anatafuta. Unanielewa? So wakati sasa huyo mtu alifaulu, akapata pesa shilingi bilioni 15 za Kenya, 150 million US dollars. Akaenda akajenga hiyo kiwanda.
Of whether the bank makes loans on the basis of phone calls, the answer is no. There is a deliberate process that is followed. in line with the central bank's prudential guidelines and in line with internal policies and procedures.
Equity Managing Director Gerald Waroy told members of Parliament that the bank had no customer by the name Harun Aiden and that at no point was he ever advanced the credit facility by the bank.
And I want to say, yes, there is our customer in Uganda. That one I don't want to deny. I also want to mention that in terms of lending, we have not lent the 15 billion shillings to any of those two customers in Uganda.
Equity Bank officials denied knowledge of money laundering links to a Ugandan pharmaceutical company linked to Aiden.
As to Uganda, Madam Chair, Uganda cannot be able to give a loan of such an amount. And in that case, if they want to, they are sigo obliga, that is called, the amount they can lend to any individual customer is capped, and is capped to a limit of about 2.2 billion, 2.3 billion. That is the much they can lend because of the capital requirements.
There you have it. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Remember, this particular person in question was deported out of the country a few weeks ago. Now, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation has cleared the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka over claims he grabbed NYS land in Yatta. The Wiper Party leader received the findings of the DCI 7 months after he called for an investigation into the claims made by Deputy President William Ruto. And as Kevin Washira reports, Kalonzo has hit back at the Deputy President, questioning his source of wealth.
7 months ago, Deputy President William Ruto claimed the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka had grabbed 200 acres in Yatta from National Youth Service. Kalonzo Musyoka then moved to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to probe the claims. On Wednesday, the DCI reportedly exonerated Kalonzo Musyoka over the land-grabbing claims.
That the property subject matter of his investigations is privately owned by Pastev Holdings Limited, which is a company associated with Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka after the property was purchased by Betraco Limited.
According to DCI report, the land in question is owned by a company associated with Kalonzo Musyoka. The former vice president hit back at the Deputy President William Ruto, questioning his source of wealth.
An entire river in Taita Taveta County was diverted to the detriment of local residents to serve interests of a land grabber. Today, thousands of our people in Taita Taveta County remain landless because of grabbing visited on them by Deputy President. He bought grabbed land with full knowledge because where his interests matter, his conscience takes a break. As he preaches a false hustler narrative, today the Deputy President owns 5 high-end helicopters piloted by white captains with an exclusive grabbed hangar at Wilson Airport. The ADC land, that is Agricultural Development Corporation land, in Laikipia was grabbed by William Ruto and must revert back to the state.
Kalonzo, who has declared interest in the presidency in next year's general election, says he would recover stolen public wealth if he becomes president.
Well, as you said, we have to follow the paper trail. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Remember, matters of integrity have weighed heavily when we talk about who we pick for our leadership positions. Pond on that. It's quite rhetoric. Now the government has adopted a multi-sectoral approach in fostering peace ahead of the next general elections. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says that besides security measures put in place, they are working closely with faith-based organizations and players in different sectors of the economy to propagate peace to avert a repeat election-related mayhem.
A year to the next general election, the government is not relenting in avoiding a recurrence of election violence. Speaking during the 64th National Council of Churches of Kenya General Assembly, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says among those measures is the involvement of faith-based organizations in peace-building programs.
So where you have meetings organized by NCCK for youth, we need to make sure, Stafam will make sure our county commissioners are there. They work with these young people to preach peace across the country, to talk to their fellow young people, to avoid being misused and to belong to gangs, to avoid being abused by political leaders. We are focusing now on active social groups like the border, and through NTSA we want to begin building structures that we work directly with Matatu owners, Matatu welfare associations in various areas, and Matatu circles, because they bring together critical role players in reaching out to our population as we go forward.
Matiang'i said security will be beefed in areas identified as hotspots for violence, adding that the government is better prepared this time round to curb chaos during elections.
I am satisfied that this time round we're even better prepared than we were in the past, because we also have learned. We would like to have an election where not a single bullet is shot, not a single Mwananchi is hurt, no one is displaced, and everyone who is able to participate in the electoral process participates peacefully.
He also cautioned the youth against being misused by politicians to engage in divisive politics and violence for monetary gain.
Say no to violence, say no to division of the country, say no to ethnicity, say no to all these negative aspects that will destroy our society. No to bad leadership.
Nyeri, Nyamira, Mandera and Bomet counties are leading in the number of 2020 KCP candidates who have so far joined Form 1. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says it is illegal for parents to keep the children at home when the government has ensured that basic education is affordable.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has revealed that the registration of 2021 KCSE candidates has been concluded and there is a significant increase of 10.28% from last year's number. This, according to the CS, is an indication that the 100% transition program is effective.
100% transition by the government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has been very transformative. And I want to urge the public to ignore all those people making noise without facts. We have just continued, we have just completed the registration of candidates for KCSE for 2021, which will be taken in March of 2022. And the footprint of 100% transition is already there, because we have a 10.28% increase between last year and this year.
Nyeri, Nyamira, Mandera and Bomet are some of the counties that have achieved the 100% transition of last year's KCPE candidates to Form 1, with coastal region registering lower figures. However, Professor Magoha says the mop-up exercise is set to continue until all learners are taken to school, irrespective of their economic backgrounds.
I would like to re-emphasize, without the mockery of the people that are saying it is far much better for our children to be in school than to be loitering in the slums. Government is providing money, and I want to say this for the purposes of disabusing the minds of the people. And we were in London with His Excellency the President and many other countries when we were raising money for poor children. And Kenya is the one that is providing the highest amount of capitation for education in the whole of Africa. So do not listen to the evil naysayers, because they actually don't know what they are talking about.
This year spoke when he led a mop-up exercise for learners yet to join Form 1 in Nyalenda slum in Kisumu County.
Well, there's been a lot of question what happens to the needy students and if the bursaries are still disbursed in an open and transparent manner in these particular counties. We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening in the education sector. Remember, this week and next week are likely to be the days that students come home for the midterm. So as parents and guardians, you need to just find out and get updated on what your children have been doing in school, especially those who are Form 1s, what have been their experiences, so that we help them attain that particular education that will shape their future going forward. Now on to matters security. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched investigations into the death of a man during protests in Kahawa West on Wednesday morning. IPOA says it will seek to determine whether the death falls within the authority's mandate of holding police accountable for their actions. The man was shot during the protests over demolition of kiosks.
Traffic along the Thika Superhighway was disrupted on Wednesday morning after traders in Kahawa West engaged police in running battles over the demolitions of structures in the area. A man allegedly died in the ensuing violence.
No one came here to shoot anybody. Our main purpose was to disperse. Kama mtu amepigwa na stray bullet, that must have been a stray bullet. No one names anyone.
The Independent Policing Oversight Authority says it has launched investigation into the incident. In a statement, IPOA said will move to ascertain whether the death falls within its mandate of holding police accountable for their actions. IPOA will also determine whether the deceased succumbed to injuries allegedly caused by police officers enforcing curfew orders. Demonstrations broke out after the Nairobi Metropolitan Services allegedly brought down traders' stalls in the wee hours of Wednesday. Irate residents lit bonfires and barricaded the eastern bypass during the melee.
To the corridors of justice, Evans Juma Wanjala, the man accused of multiple killings in Moy's Bridge, has pleaded not guilty. Wanjala was on Wednesday charged in a Kapenguria court with 3 accounts of murder. He is alleged to have killed 5 children in Moy's Bridge, Uasin Gishu County.
A day after he was declared fit to stand trial, Evans Juma Wanjala has been arraigned in court. The self-confessed serial killer, however, pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of murder before the High Court in Kapenguria. Evans Juma Wanjala is accused of killing 5 young girls in Moy's Bridge, Uasin Gishu County between December 2019 and June 2021. Justice Bononga directed the case be mentioned on the 8th of September at the Eldoret High Court.
Hiyo mambo yote yatashughulikiwa na jaji atakuwa na hiyo majukumu mnamo wa tarehe 8 mwezi wa 9 kule Eldoret.
Meanwhile, Mohammed Said Shute has filed a petition in court against Marsabit Governor Mohammed Ali of alleged misappropriation of 119 million shillings allocated for the COVID-19 pandemic response in the county. The petitioner wants the court to order the governor to present statements of account on all statutory deductions and remittance and pensions made from all county staff from the period of 2017 to June 2021, and the respondents compelled to pay all the pending and audited bills from the said years and their personal accounts be audited in order to enable him know how the funds were spent. Finally, after a long wait for justice for 3 years, the Solai Dam case where 48 people lost their lives is set to kick off in 2 weeks at the Naivasha Law Courts. This follows a directive by the High Court to allow the victims of the tragedy be represented in court by Senior Counsel John Chigete. The judge had earlier on noted that the victims of the case who were represented by the DPP were never given a chance to have their grievances heard.
Well, with that, from the corridors of justice leads us to a first breather, but we are not done. We have so much that has been making headlines in the business arena as well as Marta Sports. So do keep it right here.
The mighty will fall.
You got a driver! The members of Contra Unit! How have these guys not even been suspended or banned from MLW yet? After what they did to Ace Romero! After what they did! Oh my God! Oh my God! Get some help out here! He just set that man on fire! Against the former champion! Oh no! These guys they're all about violence. They say they're global dealers in violence.
Muhammad is and always will be the last and final prophet of Allah. He was a mercy.
ya mtu aliyedhulumiwa haina baina yake na Allah hijabu. Allah anaitakabali moja kwa moja. Sasa kimombe Allah kana kwamba ametuma kombora, halikuachi ili kumaliza mara moja. Usifanye dhulma, dhulma ni mbaya.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Mwenyezi Mungu ametoa onyo dhidi ya kuwaua watoto wetu kwa sababu Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala ndiye mwenye kutoa riziki yao na pia kutoa riziki yetu.
Allahumma salli alayhi. Ismin nabil da'alina wad'u fil janna yusalli bina. Sallu alayhi.
Will you focus, you cabbage face? This kind of speech is for those who use their brains. You, on the other hand, could use water and soap.
Guys! Julia and Vala, I've eaten all the food. Now we are going to die in the jungle.
Will you keep your voice down?
You know, I had no plan of going out like this, just so you know. And Julia, just know you're the worst planner in the history of planning.
What is your problem, eh? Why can't you just enjoy the trip like the rest of us? We might have taken the wrong van. Whose van is this?
I'm feeling the music in the air.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
1 year ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta consolidated the operations of three key entities: the Kenya Ports Authority, the Kenya Pipeline Company, and the Kenya Railways Corporation. These three entities, they have a combined total asset of about 1.4 trillion Kenya shillings. 12 months down the line, has the sailing been smooth for KTLN?
These things are not easy to melt together. These are institutions with histories. One, two, going back as you know, more than 100 years. These are not institutions that will easily. So there is it is hard work. It's enjoyable work because you can see the end game. Getting there is not easy, but we will.
This week on Inside Government, we track the performance of KTLN in trying to smoothen up the operations of these three entities. We talk to the chair of ICDC, John Gumi, on the progress of making Kenya a logistic and transport hub in the region.
Well, there's so much happening here on the back, in the studio where you can see us. A lot of conversation, but we'll be telling you at the tail end of this particular program why chicken should be on your menu in the next 3, 4, 5 days. Kuna wenye wanapenda kienyeji, kuna wenye wanapenda broiler. Personally, chicken ain't my thing. I've never seen such an ugly creature in God's creation. Then those who are already talking about me being a thief, having stolen some items of clothing, I want to set you straight. I did not steal. Nilipewa na zikaletwa. I was, yes. Now moving on swiftly into matters business, industrialization and trade cabinet secretary Betty Minor is challenging those in the tea industry to consider jointly setting up value addition facilities to help reduce operational costs and maximize earnings. The CS, who met East African Tea Traders Association officials on enhancing collaborations with her ministry, said most of such value addition facilities owned by individual factories lie idle most of the time, despite running costs and huge investments made in setting them up. I think my comment about the chicken and has affected even a bit of a technical coverage there. Some machines have gone on, but that is to say is just machines, and we can't really fully rely on them. But we are not down. We may be down, but we're not out. We have so much lined up for you. And as we said here, Thursday is the new Friday. You need to know why chicken should be on your menu. But if you're people like me who don't enjoy that, well, we can sit on the other end. While we have Jane, Victor, and Doreen, Traffic Marshal A1, who needs to tell us why we need to look at, traffic-headed Western this week. Over to you, Doreen.
Let me choose to say, I will not indulge on telling you why traffic is headed to Western, or on telling you anything about the Western side. In fact, Regina, we shall revisit. How could you have the audacity to call chicken the ugliest animal?
That thing is...
How? Even before you do traffic, how? We should charge you. Why? Anyway, let's look at... You won't even say a thing. Let's look at the roads. Let's look at the roads first. What do you want to say?
Before you continue, if Regina is saying that the guano is ugly, what about the warthog? Surely, I mean, it must be the most beautiful animal then.
Why are we attacking animals?
Listen, why?
Then why did you attack? Why did you attack chicken?
What happens to protecting these animals? And we talked about this yesterday, by the way, on the donkey.
Uliwasha moto.
Mimi nasema napenda mandazi. I'm done.
Tunaongelelea wanyama, lakini wacha tuangalie barabara kwanza. So this morning,
let me not hear anybody talk about samaki, tafadhali.
Wait a minute. It is time for us to look. It is time.
Lakini do not comment about fish.
All right, at 10 minutes past 7 a.m., time for us to take a look at what is happening on the roads in terms of traffic. And this morning, we shall be focusing actually on 3 specific sleep roads. That is Kirinyaga Road, Kipande Road, as well as State House Road, given the fact that it's one of those good alternative routes, especially as we know there's still some sections along Waiyaki Way which have been closed. And again, it's just obvious because of that expressway which is being constructed there. So perhaps you can begin from, and the other one is Muranga Road actually. So we can perhaps begin from Kipande Road. This is actually one of those sleep roads that comes all the way from areas around Westlands as you come all the way also from Waiyaki Way. Clearly also, it can serve as a very good alternative route if at all you're coming to the city center or even to areas as you head over to Kenyatta Avenue, and perhaps you do not want to do the heavy traffic around the University roundabout. Where you get to branch off is just around the Aga Khan Academy there, coming through Kipani Road on that particular stretch as you enjoy into the Globe roundabout, branching off through Tomboya Street as you head off to the city center. However, there's a bit of a traffic just as you get to the roundabout there. That is the Globe roundabout. But again, this is one of those, actually the Globe roundabout is one of those major roundabouts here in Nairobi, and it's just simply because it branches off to major roads, slip roads, as well as minor roads. Unlike most major roundabouts that we perhaps have seen or we will witness, because those other major roundabouts just branches off perhaps mostly to either slip roads or major roads, but this specific one actually branches to all of that. There is Murang'a Road, there's Kipande Road coming all the way from Thika Superhighway as you branch off as well to Kirinyaga Road. There's Tomboya Street there, as well as on the other section of University Way as you head over to State House Road. So clearly this makes it one of those major roundabouts, and that is why oftentimes, especially in this early morning hour, you'd clearly witness heavy kind of traffic along this route. But also the beauty is that all the time the traffic police are always stationed on most of this roads that branches off there to just try and see how best they can control the traffic there, because like I mentioned, one of those major and busy roundabouts. So whether or not there's ongoing road works, oftentimes there's usually heavy kind of traffic just because of that particular reason. And clearly as you leave areas around Thika Superhighway, just coming through Murang'a Road, the same is being witnessed specific to that lane that is coming to the city center. Again, it's just quite obvious because it's the early morning hour, so obviously a lot of activities as you come to the CBD, and this is why we are seeing that kind of traffic. In fact, on that particular section at a standstill, not moving at all. The same also being witnessed on Lonki Pandi Road, specific to that lane that is leaving areas around Wayaki Way, coming through Westlands as you join to city center via Kipandi Road there. So that is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Perhaps we need not look at any alternative routes, but clearly that is what's going to be our focus this morning when you look at the roads, just basically trying to see how most of these slip roads are looking like in terms of traffic.
All right, now let's take a look at the headlines here and what's making on the front pages of our local dailies. With me, I have the Star newspaper. On the front page, Kenya Power loses 18 billion shillings yearly to theft. Kenya Power loses 18 billion shillings yearly to theft. Last year, company suffered 15.99 billion shillings system losses beyond what it is allowed to recover from consumers. And now there's an exclusive part here that staff collude with heavy power users, redirecting billions from sales. That is the story on the front page of the Star newspaper. You can take a look at that. And still on the front page, President allies crafting Mount Kenya Region Unity Pact. A section of Mount Kenya leaders allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta held a meeting with the heads of political parties to consult on the unity of the region. The closed-door meeting, which was held at a Nairobi hotel, was attended by representatives of 11 registered parties. That is now what's happening in the political world in Kenya here. And still on politics, Kenyatta men divided on DP route removal bid. President Kenyatta's allies are divided on whether to impeach Deputy President William Ruto days after the head of state dared him to resign. It has, however, emerged a meeting could be held today, bringing together Uhuru's political lieutenants to plot the DP's removal as the political war hits, or rather heads to parliament. You can take a look at that story. Of course, the political temperatures continue to rise on a daily basis. And there's a picture there of Professor George Magoha now having that door-to-door campaign to flash out from one students who sat for the KCSE and are yet to report to school. And he said that he's on a mission to ensure that every student goes to school. There you have the story there. Uhuru allies continues to have the consultation for them to have a region's unity. There could be a meeting today to forge way forward. Yesterday we did a story here about the bishop. That is Bishop Murithi now wants DNA test in child upkeep case. Magistrate refuses to bar media coverage until gag order in another case is read. Now, the bishop, through his lawyer, says that he wants a DNA test to ascertain the real paternity of, what should he say? To claim whether he's the real father of the child. That is what's making on that particular page. And just briefly, Jen, before I give you, Kenya is now contemplating to replace AstraZeneca with Johnson & Johnson. The Ministry of Health will not buy the vaccine and will now position the single-dose Johnson & Johnson as a primary jab. Now, head of the vaccines rollout task force, Willis Ahwale, said J&J will be cheaper for Kenya because it has fewer logistical requirements and will be easy to deploy to remote areas. So we are yet to see how the Ministry of Health will handle that moving forward. Jen.
Well, it's the sound logic behind that, but again, it boils down to what the ministry deems necessary for our country. Now, let's quickly go through the front page of the Daily Nation. Not much that has been featured here, but starting with the first story here on the header in line with COVID-19, and it reads, why vaccine will save your life at there was a study that was done in the U.S., featured a number of states, that was done between the 1st of May through to the 24th of July rather. And from that report, it indicated over 90% of those people who are admitted in hospitals due to COVID-19 complications haven't been vaccinated. They haven't been vaccinated. Most patients, and even here in Kenya, it is something that the ministry has also noted, that most patients at city hospitals are not vaccinated, as opposed to those who have been vaccinated and are at hospitals. That is the story that has been given prominence here. And coming to the main read here on the front page, the race against time, and pictured therein we have His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. And as the clock ticks towards the end of his rule as president, it seems that he has a pile of unfinished business. And what business is this, you ask? Well, looking at his legacy projects, what he will be remembered by, this boils down to the Big Four agenda, national unity, 2022 succession, and of course the Mount Kenya block, which is something that has been on the media every single day and is expected to be so up until we get to that point when we see who will be the next president. And finally, coming to what happened in Tanzania yesterday, as a 30-year-old man kills 4 in a Dar rampage. This is something that was happening around one of the most secure places in Dar es Salaam. We'll be giving you details of this in a bit, so do keep it here to catch up with that. But before then, Doreen.
Just come to the front page of the People's Daily, as Regina would always like to put it. Keep your comments, feedback coming through. And I'm seeing one here on Facebook. Nani meambiwa? Charge Ray at your own risk. We are watching you. By the J sina ubaya. That is J. J on Facebook amesema ni wachane za Regina nisi mcharge sina ubaya. Nimetustaki aongelele snaki yetu vibaya, but sina ubaya.
I got peeps on my corner. Yes.
Regina. Okay,
leave us.
All right, so keep your feedback coming. We'll obviously be sampling them through as we continue with this live production there. But let's just come to the front page of the People's Daily, and perhaps you can begin from the COVID-19 matter, where now Kenyans in mad rush to get the COVID jab, whereby at least more than 3,000 people get the first dose of COVID-19 jab in 4 days, a departure from how it was during the first time when the doses came into the country. Right now, it looks like people are becoming more easy to at least get this COVID-19 vaccine, and we know that the government is still on that rush to try and ensure that before December, they would have at least vaccinated 10 million Kenyans there. All right, let's come to politics now, and why OCA meeting failed to take off. Remember that this particular meeting was supposed to be held yesterday on Wednesday, where the OCA leaders were to meet the ODM chief as well as the president, just to discuss and try and find the way forward. But Raila being away and jitters in both camps over agenda led to that postponement of that particular meeting. A specific date hasn't quite been put for when it will take place, but it just was postponed there. Also, Equity disowns Ruto's 15 billion loan claim. That is in regards to the businessman Harun Ayedin. We also had that particular story on the news briefs this morning. And coming to what we have been constantly at least been hearing of for the past, not even for the past, let me just say since the enforcement of the COVID protocols, and this is in regards to police brutality in various places across the country, where now police are on the spot again over shooting of 2 in Kahawa West. Of course, this was not perhaps in regards to the same, but just still doubles up with what has been happening in terms of police brutality. And this particular article just highlights what really resulted to this police shooting those 2 men in Kahawa. That was yesterday. And we also have this, when it comes to matters education, still trying to ensure that there's that 100% transition which the Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha is trying to enforce, and he has been on that particular campaign since Monday. He was at the coastal region of the country, and right now the article that is actually is just trying to give us various counties which have achieved that 100% transitions, the ones that are still yet to even get closer to that, with the coastal region, the place in which he was on Monday, still recording the lowest of all the counties here in the country. And also when it comes to matters security, the Interior CS, that is Fred Matiang'i, is now saying that as we gear up towards elections, they are warning Kenyans of what they post on social media, just decrying of the abuse of social media platforms, warning that the government will start monitoring the same as the country heads over to 2022 general elections. So it simply means if you're someone who really loves to use social media, just check on what you post, because right now the government is planning to monitor that as we gear up towards 2022 general election. Regina, over to you.
I want to pick it up from there, that particular warning by Matiang'i over social media users ahead of the general election 2022. We have gone through that phase as a country. And we also, if we go at what, media, not just social media, now this in the age of social media, but we know that the media plays a major role when it comes to agenda setting as well as information dispersion. That's why we are in the broadcast sector. So if we look at history within the region and look at what happened in Rwanda and how the radio was used, to ensure that genocide actually happened. Then we come back to the 2007-2008 post-election violence. This, I think, is a warning that has come well ahead of time, and Kenyans need to know that whatever you say has an impact to the person who reads it or hears it. So there has to be due diligence. You have to be a responsible Kenyan. And also the media, I think this is also a challenge to us. How are we disseminating information? Are we debunking myths and lies and focusing on facts? And that's a question I would want to ask all of us who are in the media. What is the plan in as far as broadcast is concerned ahead of the general elections 2022 to roll out civic education? Because we have the platform, but do we have the goodwill? Do we have the goodwill to share information, crucial information, to Wanjiku so that she understands her rights when it comes to voting, what she needs to look out for? What does the Constitution say? What does the electoral and boundaries, guidelines say? I mean, step by step. I think this is a challenge to us, being part of the media and also on an individual capacity. What are you doing on your individual account on social media? Are you part of the perpetrators who are fueling an already tense moment as we find ourselves as our politicians align themselves ahead of 2022? So that has found itself also on the front page of the Standard, including all that you have mentioned, matters of equity and Harun Ayedin there. There's also now the dilemma that the executive find itself. Uhuru's big dilemma over Ruto. Remember, he said from the outset the president and his deputy's relationship was a time fuse, given the DP's growing ambitions and Uhuru's agenda and succession. We will be keeping tabs on that. So matters of politics, matters of COVID-19 at a time when the government says, well, we are not forcing our employees and those who are in the front line, but we are encouraging them. I like the word that Hakwale there used, saying we are strongly encouraging them to take the jab. New dynamics there. Government wants to go for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because it's one dose. But yes, we are here. We'll be keeping tabs. Remember, in the meantime, keep social distancing, mask properly, wash your hands with running water and soap. And what you need to know, and this is a fact, whether you're vaccinated or not, you can still transmit the virus, and also you can still get the virus. So be careful, be safe. Victor.
Absolutely. Right. So let me just give you what's happening here. Yesterday, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka presented himself to the DCI headquarters, and now Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka legally owns a land in Yatta, Machakos County. That is according to a report. The 200 acres piece of land has been in question as it originally belonged to the National Youth Service. Now, Kalonzo yesterday walked to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters on Kiambu Road, Nairobi, where he was given a report on the findings of the issue. So he launched a scathing attack on Deputy President William Ruto, who had claimed Kalonzo grabbed the land, but now Kalonzo said that he acquired that piece of land legally. All right. Again, matters money. Equity Bank disowns Ruto's 15 billion shillings claim. MD says that they have not advanced any credit facility of the said amount to pharmaceutical firm in Uganda. Harun Aidin of Turkey, who is also alleged to have obtained 15 billion shillings from Equity Bank to set up a pharmaceutical plant in Uganda, is a stranger to the institution's records. That is what MPs were told yesterday. Equity Bank Managing Director Gerald Warui told MPs probing the multi-billion transaction that the TAC is not only having no account to the bank, but equally has no history of credit facility at the financial institution. Remember, during an interview with the Deputy President a fortnight ago, he said that it was just a single phone call that guaranteed Aidin 15 billion shillings to set up the factory in Uganda. But now, when the Equity Bank was being probed by the parliamentary committee, they said they don't have such a person holding an account with them. Okay. Jill.
That story has also been featured here, and they went ahead to actually put together this caricatures that they actually usually feature here on this particular daily.
Yes.
Just showing a phone ringing, DP on one side, then there's someone dodging the phone itself. Unaona miguu, viatu zimeachwa hapo. DP yako ile upande na ingi anasema hello, hello, hello. And one phone imeandikwa Equity, inaitwa Equity. Na hiyo ingine ni DP hiyo pande ingine. We'll get a better picture for you on our social platform. Now let's come to this particular piece and focus on this story concerning the COVID-19 situation. This is on page 10. Let me just quickly turn there. So COVID-19 is hitting the unvaccinated population harder than those that have been vaccinated. Whether you have the first jab or fully inoculated, you stand better chances than someone who hasn't received the vaccination at all. And unvaccinated patients are taking the hardest hit from COVID-19 infections and forming the bulk of admissions in hospitals, and more so those that need oxygen support in the ICU units. And looking at an example like the Buruburu-based Metropolitan Hospital, just looking at the month of August, so far they have had 113 patients. And by the 24th of August, they had admitted 113 patients with COVID-19 infections. And out of this, only 10 had received the jab and only 2 were fully vaccinated. So showing you that the bigger bulk of this percentage, actually they've put it at about 82%, had not been vaccinated, and those are the very same ones that are on oxygen support. And this story has also been backed by the CDC. that on Tuesday released a study that showed the unvaccinated people are 29 times more likely to be hospitalized with severe COVID-19 disease. And this is a study that was done between the 1st of May through to the 25th of July. And more so looking at this new variant, the Delta variant, because as per this report as well, only 5% of people who have been fully vaccinated have been affected by this new variant, showing you that still, if you haven't been vaccinated, you stand disadvantaged when it comes to the fight against COVID-19. Doreen.
Doreen, before you picked it up, yeah? There's a story here, and I think it's worth reading, is that the grandmother of the slain two gentlemen from Embu, the now renowned Kienjo Koma brothers, Benson Jiru and Emmanuel Mutura, their grandmother was interred yesterday. According to the family, Gladys Embu suffered from depression after her grandsons were killed and died on Friday last week. She was buried yesterday at the age of 94. So the family said that she fell sick soon after the burial of her grandsons and was rushed to Runyenjes Level 4 Hospital. She died a week after the burial of her grandsons. Now, this is just to put it this way. The granny, 94, perhaps had more lives to live, more years ahead of her, had the two grandsons lived. True or false? Because now, the two gentlemen were allegedly killed, and 6 police officers are still under police custody. But then now, the granny is also dead because of depression. You can imagine the ripple effect. So the two gentlemen were buried a week ago, and now their granny, 94, also followed. So you can imagine the ripple effect in that family now. So anytime before you think of doing something of that kind, just think about it. Just think about it. So you can imagine the granny went with all the bitterness. And perhaps now she was blaming those people who killed her grandsons. That is just the love. The grannies and their grandkids. All right, let's be human. Let's be human. Doreen.
I mean, it's so sad, and I can just imagine the mother of those two boys. Now, the two boys died, the grandmother died. Like, what? It's really hurting and so sad. So, still on the same breath, perhaps, if I can say, maybe we can just perhaps look at this particular story which also happened yesterday. That was in Kahawa, where police are now on the spot again over shooting of 2 in Kahawa. And perhaps just run you quickly through that particular article. These 2 people were yesterday shot in Kahawa West in Nairobi during a protest over dawn demolitions, and these were properties worth millions of shillings were also destroyed during that particular protest that has once again put police on the spotlight over the manner in which they handle protests. The killings took place barely a week after officers enforcing curfew orders also shot another man dead in Kayole. If you can remember that incident that also happened in Kayole just last week. The witnesses said one of the deceased was a tuk-tuk rider, only identified as Alex. He was shot on the head by police at the roundabout along the northern bypass. The other victim is said to be a boda boda rider who was also shot on the head. The police shot Alex at close range and he bled to death. Just going by what is actually happening in the country when it comes to matters of police brutality, and the whole article just highlights perhaps the manner in which police needs to handle issues or protests.
Well, we'll be coming back to just allow us to vent and also give you an opportunity to give us your feedback in regard to what is happening when it comes to our security enforcement officers there and what they're doing wrong at a time that the public is experiencing a lot of antipathy when it comes to these security forces. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Na hapa ni kwa nani?
Hapa ni kwangu.
Tumejuana jana tu. Sasa inakuwaje leo una nguo ambazo zinatosha mimi?
Si ndio nyinyi mlionishauri mimi nioe? Si ndio nyinyi mlioniambia kwa nyumba baba anataka mama mwingine? Sio nyinyi.
Tulikuwa tufanye nini baba? Tulikuwa tufanyeje? Baba hasikizi mtu yoyote, hataki kushauriwa na jambo lolote. Nikuulize, bado yuko wapi? Kaburi la mamangu liko wapi?
Nataka kupongeza tu kwa kazi yako nzuri. Yaani sijui huyu Maya ulimwambia maneno gani, wala sitaki kujua.
I will kill you! So it's not true? I guess it was you who was colluding with them.
Nonsense! I was almost killed by that man that night.
You heard her. She doesn't want you here. I have to say, you're a spy. How dare you come visit us? This journey is very dangerous, sir.
Father, if it's really dangerous, then I have more reason to go. I can be of some help to you.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
And when I give my word, I stand by it. So if the deposit is made today, first thing tomorrow I will go to the precinct and I'll declare that it was I who killed Horacio Espinosa and not your brother.
Please try to stop my brother from pleading guilty on the day of his trial. Tell him it's for Amaya's sake. Because of the land she'll cede to Cesar, then he shouldn't worry because I will see to it that this does not happen. Tell him not to do anything crazy.
We have agreed it will be early tomorrow. I have to talk to my family and inform them about it.
I officially plead guilty to the murder of Mr. Horacio Espinosa.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.
Talking about animals, look, a herd of buffalo.
This week on Zurura,
Hii kazi mimi leo ninafanya.
we take you on a journey from farm to shop. Rock climbing.
My toes feel like sardines.
We'll also get your adrenaline pumping with a rigorous activity.
You can get lost here easily, yeah?
You get to find out what conservancies actually do. Expand my mind. And yes, that's all coming right up on Zurura. Find your adventure.
Good morning. Thank you for keeping us company. We're still keeping you updated on what has been making headlines in the last 24 hours and giving you just a sneak peek of the details that we have. Now, I don't know among you who has studied in your native language. Doreen, did you ever study in your native language?
No.
Jane?
No.
Victor?
Yes, I did.
Good. Now the C story is about you. Tell us first. I think you will be telling us your grade soon after. Now, according to a Tusome report, says the use of local languages is negatively affecting grasp of the two language subjects, that is English and Kiswahili. And the report recommends that the number of language lessons per week be increased to 5. Basically, our pupils and students who are learning in their native languages are doing poorly in Swahili and English. Now, basing on your eloquency in English there, Victor, I think you fall far from this particular report. You're not within this sample size. Now, a baseline report by Tusome, program funded by USAID and the Kenyan government, says the use of local languages negatively affects the grasp of the two language subjects. Thus, the local language is used during English instruction is negatively associated with both English and Kiswahili reading fluency, with pupils from such classrooms scoring 7 to 12 correct words per minute lower than the average. I don't know what you think.
But for me, for us, we had this book called Apirima. It was just like it was a low story book, which were being used, it was being used way back in class 1, nursery school, class 1, class 2, so that you have that grasp of your mother tongue, because you realize that there's some people who do not even know how to respond to a simple greeting in their mother tongue. So we are being taught how to pronounce certain insects, like the grasshopper, you know, the name of the birds, we had sheep, all those, the basics basically. So we were being taught how to read in Luo. Not that we were being taught in Luo generally. No, it was just a subject, and it was called Apirima Marsomo. Apirima. Apirima. It was just to induct you the moment you get to class 1, class 2, or nursery school, you are being taught. Because imagine at this particular point, as you speak, there's some kids who do not know when you greet them in their mother tongue. Atakuliza, what is that?
We can actually do a survey with all of us here.
Yeah.
Greet us in your native language.
Me? It depends with what time. Like for example,
it's in the morning.
Good morning. Oyaore.
Atiwa?
Oyaore.
Oyaore.
Yes. That is good morning. And then you reply, Oyaore ahinya.
Oyaore adi?
Ahinya. Yes.
Oyaore ahinya.
Good morning. That is good morning.
My tongue is very heavy. I come from the other side. Or
you can simply put it idhinade. Unendeleaje.
Oh, idhinade. That one I can manage. It has a
and then you respond
somewhere.
Adinade.
Adinade.
Adimaber.
Right. There's some kids who do not know that. 0.
We will find out the kids right now. Tunaendelea na hii survey. Jane, give us a statement. Yeah, good morning in your language.
Ohoro wa roshine.
Na najibu aje?
Kwega muno.
Kwega fio.
Kwega muno.
Kwega fio. Kwero atia.
Kwero atia.
Yeah.
Kwero atia.
Hiyo sasa. Wacha tukuje hapa mali tunaenda. Doreen, usitusalimie tu. Tafadhali elaborate.
Hiyo swali ulikuwa unani target, but lo and behold.
Ati what?
Shock on you.
Wacha ni kusurprise.
Surprise.
We are waiting.
Aya. Kariena Amalai.
Amalai.
Next.
Ushere.
Sindio jibu na question answer.
Ushere mno, hiyo ni ya asubuhi. Kariena Amalai, hiyo ni ya anytime.
Yes.
You have been studying hard. Doreen, I can see you have been taking classes. Congratulations. The last time we did this survey, you were busy smiling at us. Sasa ati kuna watu wanafikiria sijui kuongea Kimeru. Hit me up.
What surprise.
Sema good morning.
Muga muno, urere atia. Undere bwega tukubwaka was fantastic. Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. What else do you want to know?
Mimi nakwambia Regina ni ile akikasirika na kuongelesha Kimeru.
The accent is always very strong.
Yes.
You see this English that you people you are hearing right now? Why inapotea?
I agree. I have no problem.
Aanze kuongea na ile kambesi.
Sasa ndienda kuira Martina tigonshogoda.
Martina tuchokozi. Hiyo nimeelewa.
Yes.
But director.
Imbiengebo kwenda kumenya. You're not asking me hard stuff.
But you know,
I know my language. I actually read it and I write it.
Nice.
But you see now, Jen, Regina, the good thing about understanding your native language, because when you go back to the village, remember we have got, our beautiful ladies in the village who, they cannot speak English or Kiswahili. The only language they know is their mother tongue. And they feel so good when you go back there and talk to them in that language they understand. I'm talking about our shosho, the old men there.
Yes.
Even you, when you go back to the village for a day or two, you know, you want to speak Kizungu mingi, go back there and
speak your native language.
But you know, the interesting thing is children will learn a new language faster than a grown-up.
Sure.
Facts and studies have proven that.
Actually,
if you were to take a child to learn a foreign language and you also to learn it at the same time, trust me, the child will master it faster than a grown-up.
Yeah, that's given.
And that's what I'm saying, as Kenyans, as we walk towards the general elections, today, we come from different communities here. This is a teamwork. We do not remember where we come from unless we hear Bushere and Bushere, you know? Our unique aspects of where we come from are so unique and should make us proud, not make us enemies. It should make us proud that we are living within one setup and working to the same goal because everybody wants to prosper. I think we need to be reminded that we are unique, but we live in a symbiotic system that should continue and should not change every 5 years.
Our diversity should be our source of unity.
Indeed, indeed.
So even having avenues where these children can learn that language even in a school setup, I mean, just the way you're putting it, Wambui, it's actually difficult to learn it as a grown-up. Hey, mimi saizi unaona vile nangangana. Difficult. But you see, when you have it, at least when you're sort of like a toddler or you're trying to grow up, it becomes so easy and also just makes you appreciate where you're coming from.
And also, you know, viewers here, Patrick Kamau says, you sound nice speaking Kimeru. Well, I'm happy my Kimeru.
Let me tell you, kuna kuanga na kautamu fulani ukiongelesha mtoto wako mother tongue senye anajua vita inakuja.
Yes.
Kuna tu kale ka threat enye English ama Kiswahili cannot express.
I know.
But mother tongue is doing it.
Mwana huyo.